proverb was, where annual elections end, tyranny begins. Will we come to see the elections of 2024 as Russians see the elections of 1990? Or Czechs the election of 1946, or Germans the elections of 1932? This, for now, depends on us. Much needs to be done to fix the gerrymandered system so that each citizen has one equal vote, and so that each vote can be simply counted by a fellow citizen. We need paper ballots, which we have in Delaware, because they will not be tampered with remotely and can always be recounted. We need to remove private funding for what should be public campaigns for office. We need to stop selling the offices of the United States of America to the highest bidder. We will have to take seriously our own Constitution, which forbids oath-breaking insurrectionists from running for office. So SB 2, SB 3, and HB 88 are three bills that are currently pending in our legislature in order to constitutionally protect our right to vote and our right to vote by absentee ballot and early. Because we want everyone to vote that's eligible to vote. So if you're those of us among us that have the unfortunate situation where you're not represented by Claire and you're represented by somebody who we think does not support voting rights, we are going to work together for the next 2 months like a little army and try to protect the voting rights for every Delawarean. Who's with me? So those of you that live in Republican districts, we're going to call upon you a lot, and we'll support you a lot, and we will together get these bills passed. Right, Claire? Right now we're going to hear from Hope. And I just refer to her as Hope because that's what she stirs up in me, and I'm sure that's what she's going to stir up in you.
Good afternoon, Rehoboth. Thanks for having me back. The scenery's the same, but people, we are not in Kansas anymore. There's this minor movie that was released last year that a few of you may have seen. It's called Wicked. I confess that my eyes unexpectedly started sweating because the connection between Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, and Glinda, the Good Witch, reminded me of a friendship that has spanned almost 51 years, except for the mean parts. A friendship that held up when people didn't want me in their neighborhood, and parents didn't want me in the schools with their children. A friendship in which my best friend April and her family were my safe space, even though I had way more melanin in my skin than they did. A friendship in which if someone came for me, they came for her, no matter what. The next time I watched it, I looked deeper, and friends, there were so many symbolic similarities. I'm beginning to wonder if we've somehow been transported to Shiz University or to Oz with an adulterous, deceitful, racist, narcissistic, and weak wizard with a Machiavellian complex who uses smoke and mirrors and deflection and intimidation to turn the world upside down. This must be Oz, when legal residents of our country can be snatched from our communities in the middle of the night and secreted off to faraway lands without due process, like the animals in Wicked. This must be Oz, when attempts are being made to erase the cultural exchange and contributions of the many cultures that are woven into the American tapestry. Our history cannot be covered with the medallion of the wizard, like Shiz University covered the medallion of the prominent former leaders of Oz, like Dr. Dale. And I am sorry, because I can't turn a page. This must be Oz, when the leader surrounds himself with only those who will try to carry out his schemes, blind, unqualified, and impulsive fury, no matter what the impact is on their constituents. At the same time, he villainizes those who speak up and out for justice, like Elphaba spoke up and out. We've seen Wizard Trump's movie before, but not in a theater. We've lived it. We didn't like it the first time, and unlike Wicked, the second viewing is even worse. He unleashed his flying minions on us, creating chaos to install himself as wizard. We are not his loyal subjects. We are loyal to our country and our Constitution. We've seen behind the curtain and mask, Wizard Trump. We will continue to follow the rules and exercise our right to lawful assembly and peaceful protest, unlike the actions of your followers on January 6th. We see you for what and who you are, Wizard Trump. Since you love golf, we'll speak in a language you'll understand. No more do-overs, no more mulligans. You revealed your hand too much and too soon. No more mulligans.
No more mulligans!
Your policies against the rights of women, people with disabilities, LGBTQ plus identities, people of color, voters, immigrants, Social Security recipients, and those who receive other social services, federal workers, veterans, nonprofit organizations, educators, and farmers will not stand. No more mulligans!
No more mulligans!
Your attempted destruction of the EPA, FDA, CDC, FEMA, DHHS, DOE, DOJ, FAA, IRS, NIH, NOAA, USA, agencies that were established to protect us, our lands, and 8 other countries will not withstand the passage of time. No more mulligans.
No more mulligans!
You will not play with our nuclear sites like an impetuous child playing with pawns on a chessboard. No more mulligans.
No more mulligans!
You cannot single-handedly dismantle the fiber of our government by disregarding the other 2 equally powered branches that our ancestors ensconced within our Constitution to protect us from dictator strongman wannabes like you, Mr. Wizard. No more mulligans.
No more mulligans!
I will not return to the back of the bus, Mr. Wizard. Our elders will not forfeit the money that they paid into Social Security so you can play golf on the weekend. People with disabilities will not return to disease-ridden, subpar staffed, abusive institutions so you and your cohorts can line your pockets. The LGBTQ plus community will not return to the closet under the premise that it will make our children safer. We don't need protection from them, we need protection from you. We're being revealed as sex offenders and pedophiles at a head-spinning pace. And women will not return to being mere extensions of the name of their spouses. Indigenous people will not be forced to relive the trauma of their fathers as you attempt to steal even more of their tribal lands in the name of border security. Oh no, Mr. Wizard, and all those who are not listening to their constituents. Unlike the citizens of Oz, 248 years ago, the authors of our Constitution invented a cure for you and your ilk. I will vote. We will vote.
We will vote. We will vote. We will vote.
Make them hear you in
We
Washington.
will vote. We will vote. We will vote. We will vote.
And we will vote as if our lives and the future of our country depends on it. As always, Wizard Trump, you tip your hand by using words like Insurrection Act, assuming that fear of the martial law will paralyze us and force us into compliance and complacency. Mr. Wizard, we are exercising our constitutional rights. This is a peaceful and lawful assembly, like the hundreds or thousands taking place across our country today. This is not an insurrection. Watch the tons of footage of your followers on January 6th if you need a textbook example of what insurrection is or isn't. So, put your little martial law back into your pocket. We will not be silenced, and your attempts to divide us are falling incredibly short. My time is up, but I want to share one more thing with you, my new friends. I often hear people ask where Biden, Harris, Clinton, Obama, and Bush are. They ask why they aren't stepping to the front and leading us. We have new leaders who are finding and using their voices. But friends, those of you that saw the movie, remember how before Elphaba breaks into that iconic song at the end, she has this epiphany about whose power the wizard should fear. And she explains, it's me. If we want our country to return to normalcy, vote, educate yourselves, speak out when you see injustice, even when it doesn't directly impact you. The wizard has no more power than that which we forfeit to him. Unlike Elphaba, if you look around, we're not standing alone. We can bring change together. We don't have to wait for our leaders to show us the way. The Constitution has already equipped us. The change begins with you. The change begins with me. 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 Louder!
The change begins with me. The change begins with me.
Thank you, everybody!
And now, our cleanup act is our own representative, Snyder Hall. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Indivisible, and thank you, everybody, for coming out to this on this beautiful Rehoboth day. Sussex against martial law. Right now, we are facing a fascist power grab. The billionaires have perpetrated a hostile takeover of our government, and tomorrow, the bully in the White House might be invoking the Insurrection Act. They want to disappear
our brown-skinned neighbors, disappear anyone who lacks government papers, who has the wrong tattoos, who dares to voice an opinion they don't approve of, or who just happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But we are not going to remain silent in the face of MAGA bullying. 2 weeks ago, we gathered here, 2,000 strong, to tell the billionaires to keep their hands off our democracy. Today, we gathered to resist fascism and say, no way. We are building a strong movement for freedom and democracy here in eastern Sussex, all of Sussex, and indeed across the nation. Today we gather to say no to martial law. We will resist, and we are not afraid. Even though things look grim, we remember the words of the late, great Nelson Mandela, who said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." Today, as our Jewish neighbors celebrate the conclusion of Passover, commemorating liberation from bondage, and our Christian neighbors prepare to celebrate tomorrow the resurrection, the triumph of love over injustice. We repeat what we say every Saturday out there on Route 1, and what we said earlier today: we shall overcome. I am here today to offer hope. MAGA is not undefeatable. They have no popular mandate. And Trump's approval ratings are starting to tank. Republicans. Cracks are developing within the MAGA edifice. And those cracks are going to widen as people start to feel the pain. The media loves to find those people who voted for Trump are like, oh, I'm fine with the pain. Sure, we need to do that. Well, I don't think that's going to last. Once they start hurting, they're going to hopefully join us in saying, no way. No way! As Trump destroys our economy, at some point, his supporters have got to say, no way. No way. Trump supporters unable to retire because he tanked the stock market are going to say, no way. Trump voting seniors who don't get their Social Security checks, turns out they actually are going to mind. And they're going to say, no way. MAGA small business owners pushed into bankruptcy by the Trump tariffs are going to say, no way. Voters who rejected Harris because of egg prices and are now facing massive inflation, they're going to say, no way. And eventually, one can only hope that the young MAGA women recently profiled in the Washington Post, did anybody see that? Okay. Who want to, quote, make America hot again, in their hot pink ball caps. Young women who think fascist men who say things like, your body, my choice. And eventually they're gonna say, no way! I mean, come on, can someone get Betty Friedan on the line here? I mean, I know she passed away, but her book, The Feminine Mystique that kicked off second wave feminism, that's still out there, and it has not been banned, as far as I know. Trump's support is shaky, not solid, which of course is why he might try to impose martial law. but I'm here to tell you that there's three reasons three factors that can undermine his authoritarian agenda. And don't worry, my talk's only 10 minutes total, so this won't be too bad. The first factor is a lack of military capacity. The New Yorker recently published an article titled, "The U.S. Military's Recruiting Crisis. The Ranks of American Armed Forces Are Depleted." Normally, this would be concerning, but it also means that if the MAGA bully wants to impose martial law, he's not going to have boots on the ground. And according to a Pentagon study, it's not that easy to recruit people because 3/4 of our young people wouldn't be able to qualify, which is, kind of sad. Although in this case, maybe a good thing. So how can Trump impose martial law without a strong, large military? I know, it's a sort of somber moment. Hang on. Any recruitment efforts will also be hindered by Trump's horrible comment that anyone who serves in the military is a sucker or a loser. And stuff like that certainly not going to inspire the MAGA bros to join up. Okay, the second reason why we have a barrier to martial law being imposed is our country's long-standing citizen soldier tradition. We have a military that is made up of citizens, not mercenaries, and that is loyal to the Constitution, not the president. The Second Amendment in its origins was part of that citizen soldier tradition. And these days, in the wake of mass shootings, of course, the Second Amendment's become problematic because SCOTUS has interpreted it to mean individual rights to bear arms. But that's not actually what the Second Amendment says. It says the people have the right to keep and bear arms. And the people is a collective, it's not individuals, it's the people. Okay? Now, originally, one of the purposes of the Second Amendment was to prevent the government from having a monopoly on deadly force. And that's worked out, we know that our populace is armed to the teeth, which is unfortunate, particularly since the MAGA folks are armed to the teeth and our side is not. Now, before anybody gets upset, I'm not saying that we ought to be armed, but what I'm saying is that if Trump supporters turn against him, they're going to have the firepower to really fight back. Some people fear that we're on the brink of civil war. I sincerely hope that is not the case, and I don't think it is. But if that happens, the crucial question is the military, our military and how they respond, right? If the military stands with the billionaires, we're going to have some problems. If they stand with the people, which I expect they will, we're going to be okay. Scholars have investigated why some democratic revolutions succeed and others fail. And not surprisingly, the key factor is the Army's response. Let me give you an example. Anyone remember Nicolae Ceausescu?
Yes.
He was the bully who ruled Romania during the Cold War, way back in the 80s, as my students would have said. When he first came to power in 1965, he was relatively liberal, but during the 70s, he became more and more authoritarian. And he started relying on the secret police to snuff out dissent. So he ruled with an iron fist, but after he destroyed the economy, people started to turn. Eventually, dissenting voices grew so loud that not even the secret police could keep them down. And one day, Ceausescu ordered the military to open fire on protesters. And that caused massive rioting and civil unrest that quickly spread throughout the country. And at that point, the military stood with the people. They turned on the dictator. He tried to flee to no avail. He was captured, tried, and executed on Christmas Day, 1981. The Velvet Revolution. His downfall was a shock because back during the Cold War, back in the 80s, nobody thought that the Eastern Bloc would ever fall, right? It was too strong. It was too strong until it wasn't. So, it always seems impossible until it's done. Okay, and now to wrap it up, the third factor, and this one's, I might get some scant looks on this one, but the third crack in the MAGA edifice that might undermine the possibility of martial law is the strong tradition of anti-government individualism that we have in this country, particularly on the right. And while it's true that fascism in our country is coming out of the extreme right, the collectivism of fascism could be tempered by the strong individualistic tradition in our country, right? That division could lead to a split in the MAGA coalition, depending on whether or not the Trump regime overreaches. And is the Trump regime going to overreach? Yeah. They absolutely will. Perhaps the so-called sovereign citizens movement will realize that the tyranny they've been fearing has actually come to us in the form of the billionaires and the bullies. And when that happens, maybe they'll start to say, no way! No way! Government extremists are probably happy, right? Because about the hostile takeover, dismantling of our government, because they don't want their taxes to go to pay for foreign aid and fancy colleges and, DEI and stuff like that. But the thing is, they're not going to get a tax refund, right? I mean, the billionaires are cutting the budget and slashing and burning our government so that they can line their own pockets. They're not giving a tax refund to Joe the plumber.
No way!
Remember him? So we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or in the coming weeks. The White House bully might invoke the Insurrection Act, and thank God for our governor and our attorney general. And he might try to impose martial law. But whatever happens, we need to keep resisting. No matter how tough things get. Remember that we the people have survived hard times before, and it is always darkest before the dawn. It always seems impossible until it's done. And we are not done. We are here, we are building, we will not back down, we are going to resist. Thank you.